Miss Lynn from Early Literacy Matters. If you're watching this video, then you wanted to know about some activities for 3-year-olds for rainy weather. Let's get started. One of the things you can do is reread the book on video with your child and make a list of uses for water. Once you've made a list of the various uses for water, it would be helpful for your child to understand how to rank those uses for water. For instance, the concept of ranking in math would be important. You would want to discuss each option with your child and have him or her decide what's the most important use for water. And of course, we all hope that it would be drinking for people, animals, and plants. But that's something that helps children with that higher order thinking and thought process. Another activity you can do related to the story is you want to discuss with your child how rain is made. Again, if you need to revisit the video, you can do that to refresh your own memory on how rain is made. What you're doing is teaching your child the water cycle. What you want to do is explain a very important word in this story, evaporate, 4 syllables. Evaporate is what water does from the ground. So after a rainstorm, there's a puddle, but over days, the puddle shrinks because the water is escaping up as a gas or a vapor. And it's heated by the sun, which is what starts this process in the first place. A couple things you can do at home to have kids understand the water cycle is put some water in a cup, which I did here, and I loosely put about 2 pieces of tape about 1 inch apart. That way, if you locate the cup outside in the sun or in a window with strong sun, your child can observe what happens to the water in the cup every day. Hopefully, if this little experiment is done correctly, your child will see the water levels go down and down and down. That's evaporation. It's hard to see the gas part of this process, so another thing you could do very carefully with your child is boil some water on the stove and point out the steam as it rises. That's the gas, that's the vapor that later becomes clouds. All right, moving on. We also want to do an activity with rainy weather that has to do with the water cycle. Now we understand it. An important concept for young children in math is sequencing. So what we would like to do is make sure each of your children understands how the cycle works. What's the first process? The first process is the sun heats the water. The second process is that the water vapor begins to rise as steam or mist. The third process is that clouds are made. Eventually, the clouds cool way up in the atmosphere and become heavy with water. And then, you guessed it, rain falls down. You can make this activity with a piece of paper folded in 4, and you can cut it or you can simply number it on the paper. If you decide to cut them, or if you decide to leave them on the paper, you can number them with ordinal numerals and the words first, second, third, fourth. And then you can play games where you mix them all up and have your child re-sequence them. Moving on, there's a general activity you can do related to weather, and that is to go on the internet and look up the names of the different kinds of clouds. It gives you an opportunity to talk about cirrus clouds, where the C, instead of saying k, says s, like an S. They are wispy clouds. Or cumulus clouds with a hard C sound. They are white and puffy. Nimbus clouds, as you read in the story, are puffy and dark and produce rain. The other kind of cloud you can talk to your children about are stratus clouds. They are thick, layered clouds. One thing you can do is to begin keeping track of what kinds of clouds you see every day for a 2-week period. If you help your child draw and write the names of the clouds they see, then after 2 weeks, perhaps you have a weather person on your hands, someone able to forecast or predict the weather. Some other general math activities you can do with your young children is estimate. An estimation is a guess. So you can put fluffy cotton balls, here are our clouds for counting, in a jar. And you and your child can pull them out with fingers, one by one, and count them for a number. And even before you start, you can ask your child to guess how many cotton balls there are in the jar. That's your estimate. Then you and your child can compare the numbers and talk about things like, which number is bigger? Did you come close to guessing the right number? What are some other strategies you can use to get a guess that is closer to the real number? That would be a fun game with your 3-year-olds. Lastly, I would encourage you to have your children draw some clouds on a piece of paper. Then if you have a dice in the home, you can roll the dice and count out the number of clouds you want to paste down on your piece of paper. So for instance, I have pulled out 1, 2, 3, 4 clouds today. And you can allow your child to decide where he or she would like to paste them down using 1-to-1 correspondence. So consider having your child put some glue on the cloud that he or she chooses, and then counting 1, 2, 3, 4 as he or she pastes the clouds to the sheet of paper. That's all I have today. Happy learning and happy reading. Bye-bye.